Redditors who have been in legal trouble after pirating a song, movie, etc. What happened? I pirated The Sims 2 in high school. My dad came up to my room a few days later and solemnly handed me a letter from whomever the frick threatening to take legal action unless I removed the game. I didn't remove the game. A week later, another letter arrived, this time much more stern. I removed the game and taped my webcam over because I had no fricking clue how technology worked. The lesson is, never install software your ISP is offering you for free with their service. Any utilities they give to their subscribers may appear legitimate, but it will give them a backdoor to your computer. Freshman year of college, the connection speed in the dorm was mind-boggling compared to what I had back home. I went hog wild. A month later I got an email from the IT department letting me know I was in the 99th percentile of data use for the entire college. I went to a big school, and that if I was doing something legitimate, to let them know what it was, and if not, to cut it out. It was fine though, it took me years to get through what I had already grabbed at that point. Where I used to study there was an on-network file sharing system, which meant anything shared within it was gloriously fast. You could get a whole HD movie in about 3 minutes. Those were the days. Back in the PlayStation 1 days, the guy that copied my discs used to charge $10 a game. Got his door kicked down by the cops. He was able to find original copies of all bar 2 of the 100 plus or so games he had. You were allowed to make backup discs. I think he got a decent fine for each game. Maybe $1,000 per game or something. No jail time or anything like that. This happened in Australia. My uncle in Denmark used to buy cheap pirated PS1 and N64 games from another dude in DK. The guy was busted and put in prison. Not sure for how long though. After the police searched his place and found my uncle's number and name on a list, he got a letter from the police asking if he had any contact with the suspect, but he never responded, and that was the end of it. In 2009, I pirated the notorious Big Movie. The next day, accessing the internet brought up your ISP has detected the notorious Big Movie on your computer. Please delete this file and call us to access the internet. Apparently they have a 3-strike policy. Always found it funny that for everything that I've got over the years it was that movie. LOL. I accidentally seeded a torrent of a major movie from my work, a university, and it got traced back to me. I got a crappy letter from Warner and a legal disclaimer from my work to fill out and sign to say that I am a dishonest low-life idiot and I will never do that kind of thing again. The IT guy who delivered the paperwork to me hooked me up with a proxy to mask what I download. Good guy IT. My friends have gotten emails, letters. My particular ISP actually called me about it once. But now we all use proxy software and the letters and phone calls stopped. And now some old lady's phone in Moldova is ringing off the hook. I also got a letter from an American lawyer, forwarded by the ISP. They said, "We're sure it's an oversight that it's being shared, and you own the original. Please remove the share." The translation is, "We don't care, and we want to keep you as a customer. Could you delete that file so we can make this lawyer to go away? Thanks." Deleted the file in question. Never heard from them again. Downloaded terabytes. I lived in Switzerland at the time. It was a movie that wasn't even in cinemas in Switzerland at the time. Jesus. I knew they said don't copy that floppy, but I didn't know they backed it up with guns. My ISP is Suddenlink. One day, my internet randomly shut off. I called my ISP, and I was told that someone at my residence downloaded copyrighted material. Back to the Future. After hearing what they had to say, I was told that if my resident was caught downloading copyrighted material 10 total times, my internet could get shut off for up to 6 months. No big deal. Apparently, it'll take 63 years before they catch me the 10th time. Frick, I have the same ISP. Yesterday was the 6th time they shut my internet off, before calling to get it flipped back on. I got a letter first and then a few months later they caught me again and I was banned from service for life. One of the funniest shittiest things I did as a teen was get a convenience store busted for selling pirated movies. The dude had M on the counter. I wanted Spider-Man 2 but didn't want a crappy cam. I wanted a screener. He assured me it was an HD screener and told me he'd refund me if it wasn't. Got home and it was a crappy cam. I go back the next day and demand my refund and the guy refuses and tells me to frick off. So I went online and found Sony's info to report the guy. A week later his store got shut down and he got sued as far as I heard. Should have given me my $3 RIAA. RIAA was asking for it. It's stupid to have a battle with someone over $3 when you are in the sketch zone already and have so much to lose. TLDR got a job. I got the letter while in college about downloading Shaun of the Dead. Went to the RIAA discipline hearing. Saw they needed a work study to help students with computer problems. I applied and they accepted. I then spent my evenings telling people to remove pirated movies from their PC and installing antivirus software. I ended up getting to know a lot of IT and res life people and landed the job I have now, 5 years later, because of it. Not been in legal trouble, but at university I had an awkward phone call. Hi, this is Bill from the IT department. Would you care to explain why you're downloading Tropic Thunder? We've had a cease and desist notice from Paramount Pictures. UHH. I heard it was good and wanted to watch it. Awkward as heck response. Well, can you stop? Yeah, okay. Thanks, bye. I actually am still in legal trouble. When I was a freshman in college, 2005 to 2006, I allegedly downloaded some songs illegally using LimeWire, or maybe Kazaa, I can't even remember anymore, on the dorm network. Sophomore year of college, I get a letter from my school and the RIAA saying that they caught me. Here's a list of 18 songs I downloaded, and I could settle for $3,000 or they would take me to court. I thought it was some kind of joke scam and ignored it. A few months later, I get another letter from the RIAA saying that I could still settle, but now for $5,000, and if not, they would take me to court. This is when I decided to look into the whole thing. Found out that they are in fact a real company, and I was in trouble. I talked to a lawyer, who told me to just settle because fighting would cost a lot more than that and I would likely lose. But being a broke college student, I certainly didn't have $5,000. Decided to ignore it and hope it went away. In the meantime, I took off any identifying information, my address, phone number, on any accounts I had anywhere. I don't hear anything for a long time, maybe 2 or 3 years. I thought it had all gone away. I had graduated college and moved far away. My mom calls me, tells me that a lawyer had just tried to serve her papers because they couldn't find me anywhere. The papers say that I have a default judgment against me for $7,000. A few months later, I start getting phone calls on my cell phone from debt collectors trying to collect this default judgment. I never picked up. It's been almost 8 years now, and I still haven't paid, but I probably will have to someday. I don't get phone calls anymore from debt collectors. I thought it would mess up my credit, but I recently looked at my credit score and it looked fine. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen. Sucks though. I hate the RIAA. TLDR. Sued by the RIAA. Never paid, but probably will have to someday. Maybe I should just ignore it and it will go away. In about 2001 I got a series of emails from Sony saying they knew I'd downloaded the new Manic Street Preachers album off Napster, and were giving me the opportunity to delete it before they dropped the wrath of God on me. Punchline was they'd all gone to junk mail and it took me 9 months to see them. Myself and several friends, in the early 2000s, used Merc, NWM Anyone, to distribute pirated movies. I'm not talking about simple little torrents. I'm talking, we had some top site access and distributed stuff a couple weeks before it hit the theaters. As you can imagine, this meant a lot of bandwidth usage. A couple of us received cease and desist letters from our providers, Time Winner at the time. One of our friends actually was greeted with a browser window which said if he did not stop, he would have his service terminated. He had to press an I understand button to continue. Alt F for that be away. I understand nothing. I got a nasty letter from my university's IT after downloading Linux. I had just built my first PC and had torrented an ISO for Linux Mint, which is how that distro is distributed. to install on it, which I left seeding for the better part of a day while I worked on my computer. I was smart enough to set upload speed caps to avoid drawing too much attention. Later that week, I got this nasty letter from University IT basically saying they'd noticed illegal activity associated with my MAC address, and if I did it again, I'd get kicked off the network, referred to the Dean of Students. Seeing as I hadn't done anything illegal, I called IT to see what their problem was. I spoke to a student IT employee who you'd figure would be at least moderately up to date on computer things. Turns out, nope. They basically said that they saw a 2GB download that went really quick on ports associated with torrents and that I must have been downloading a movie. I said that no, I had been downloading Linux to install on my desktop. What happened next still blows my mind. IT, Linux, isn't that an operating system? Me, yeah, it's a free operating system. IT, well, just because you downloaded it doesn't make it free. You still need to pay for it. Me, no I don't. It is literally designed to be downloaded for free. IT, just because you can download it doesn't make it free. This went back and forth for about 5 minutes before I finally got him to go look at the site and see I wasn't lying. He finally gave up and left me by saying, well, Linux won't work on the campus network. You need to use Windows. Funny, it seems to be working just fine. TLDR. IT doesn't know what Linux is. Some IT departments should not be allowed near computers at all. I had to promise to write an apology letter to the Borderlands dev team in exchange for having my internet turned back on. I didn't write it. If anyone who worked on Borderlands is reading this, I am sorry for torrenting your game. I bought it a year later. Borderlands 2 was better. Yet I doubt Gearbox had to write an apology letter to anyone who bought Aliens, Colonial Marines. I downloaded crap from HBO and got an email from my internet company and HBO. I called my service provider, pretended to cry, and said that it was probably my junkie roommate that watches that filth, seeing as I was away volunteering on a mission trip. I also told them that my roommate had recently moved out and stuck me with everything. They took away everything and I was never contacted again. I didn't actually have a roommate and I don't go on volunteer missions. I just like watching HBO for free. You get the little finger award, you evil genius. It was not pirating. I was making electronic musics, originals and remixes too. So I made a remix from a popular song. Then I sent it to few DJ friends and uploaded a 1-minute teaser from it to SoundCloud without download option. Actually a lot of people loved it. Then I sent it to the original song's record label. If they are interested in the remix, then they sent me a warning. If I don't remove it from the internet they will sue me for 10,000 euros because of copyright. So I have removed the track from SoundCloud because I didn't want any trouble, though my DJ friends played it in parties for a few weeks, months. Me, wait, it's my laptop going to be taken away now? Police, no, but you won't be able to go to law school anymore. I'm cool with it. I'm curious as to what all of these people were using to pirate. Private trackers, Pirate Bay, or was it a throwback like LimeWire? I once posted a torrent link to a P once, and got a message from an account claiming to represent a major P production company strongly suggesting that I stop posting links. I'm not sure what they could do, especially to a Canadian. I also got a PM from a guy once asking if I actually worked for a P company and was setting up honeypots to entrap people. He used a link I posted and got a cease and desist letter, so he assumed I had set it up. I didn't. I believe in the freedom of the FAP for all. I don't post torrent links anymore though. People can find them on their own. From personal experience, here's 2 pieces of advice to stay out of trouble. 1. Use private trackers, never public, Pirate Bay etc. 2. Use a seedbox or VPN to access your content. Currently I have a seedbox overseas that I FTP into and download my content. To my eyes it just looks like encrypted FTP traffic and they are none the wiser. I was never in legal trouble per se, but I was contacted about torrenting. I was downloading movies and music, so I have no clue what I was in trouble for. but Cox Communication contacted me via phone and informed me that someone on my network was downloading copywritten material. I got extremely pissed off on the phone and started screaming, "I'll freaking kill that kid of mine," and started screaming, "Jonathan, I don't have any kids," and I was like 22 at the time. The guy on the phone just told me, "Okay sir, it sounds like you will take care of the problem. I'll go ahead and just note that we contacted you and issued a warning since it was your first offense," or something to that nature. This was 10 years ago. I work at a pizza place, and during this annual festival in town where a bunch of people come in and drink a ton of beer, eat some pizza, etc. To attract more people, my boss decided to get a small live band, one that does some original and some cover song. Everything goes fine, until a few weeks later we start getting these calls from some company called BMI. All of a sudden, since we had this band, we owe them some crazy amount of money, like 10 grand. My boss and I were like, where do these motherfuckers get off? Do they own live music? How is that even possible? When they would call, I would always tell them the boss wasn't in, but they would talk forever. After about a week we would hear them talk and immediately tell them not to call and hang up the phone. It got resolved when my boss sent a stack of "Don't Be a Bully" t-shirts that our franchise sells to their office, along with a single roll of pennies. They threatened to sue, but for some reason they decided not to. Who knows? Maybe they liked the freaking t-shirts. Anyway, not pirating, but still a story about how screwed these licensing companies can be. I'm a professor at a small liberal arts college. I bought a house with very bad internet, over cell towers, which killed streaming at home. I began torrenting like mad from the office. No problems for the first 3 terabytes, rang peer block. IT restarted my computer for upgrades while I was away. uTorrent started up automatically, but peer block did not. A few weeks later, I received an email from Dean of Faculty and Head of IT explaining that I needed to stop hosting Downton Abbey from my office. The dean was kind enough to point out that we actually had that season in the library. Aside from embarrassment, that was the extent of the sanctions. As I understand it, students are removed from campus internet for 2 weeks for similar violations. Cablevision sent me a letter for pirating Adobe Acrobat. I sent them a cease and desist letter back saying if they disclose my information to Adobe I will sue for breach of privacy. That was 6 years ago. Haven't heard a peep from them since. 2 years ago I was in college, living with my grandmother for my last semester so I wouldn't have to sign a year's lease somewhere. I had been introduced to HDP from Bang Bros and, well, I couldn't go back to standard def crap from the free sites. I was hooked but didn't want to pay for an account somewhere, so I did the rational thing and started downloading P from BitTorrent. Nothing happens for a while. I'm happily fapping to 1080p just the way we were intended to as a species, until one day I'm sitting in my room at grandma's watching some It's Always Sunny I had also pirated when grandma comes in, hands me a letter, and walks out. I should preface by saying my sweet grandma is old school, aggressively Southern Baptist. The world is legitimately 6,000 years old in her eyes. She's a sweet lady but very judgmental of anything she deems inappropriate. So the letter from Comcast stating that someone from our IP address had been downloading illegal, pornographic material including Jack's Pop 15 upset her a bit. Included in the envelope was basically a blackmail settlement requesting $200 per title. I had only been caught for one luckily. The settlement was from a copyright troll in California who was working with Digital Playground. The letter read more like a ransom than an official legal document. It said I would be taken to court and named publicly for my crime if I didn't pay the $200. It was unlikely they would be successful and they knew that, but no one wants to be named publicly for pirating. The letter also gave no promise that I would be let off the hook if I paid. Quick Google search showed this lawyer sends out thousands of these letters to ISPs and will often come back for more once you establish yourself as someone who will pay up. I had to have an awkward conversation with a lawyer about my habits. He eventually did it pro bono if I promised to never do it again. He was a cool dude. TLDR. I strongly suggest Jack's Pop 15 to anyone who likes quality P. Twice. First was when I downloaded an unreleased Harry Potter book right before Half-Blood Prince was released. Once got a cease and desist letter from Rowling's legal team. Second time was for downloading the Star Trek 09 movie. Got another letter. I was living at my parents' during both events, so my mom kept both of the letters in my baby book. I downloaded a lot of movies and shows while studying abroad. They were legal in the country I was in. During the winter months I had nothing to do but watch TV in a language I didn't understand. My friends and I would all download shows, movies to watch when we weren't out drinking. I never got rid of the files from my computer, and within the very first hour of being back in the US my parents got a phone call saying that our internet services were temporarily shut down due to illegal torrent activity. I explained the situation to them on the phone and deleted them off my computer. They turned the service right back on after that. It was strange, especially since I hadn't even unpacked my computer or anything yet. I have no idea how they knew they were on there. Total coincidence. While you were away your parents were downloading and enjoying the entire Backdoor MILF collection, volumes 1 through 47. Not me, but a real story that needs telling. I worked for a big corporation, and there was an IT guy who was a real geeky type. He was typically shy, quiet, a little overweight, thick glasses, no dress sense, but he was very good at his job and happy to be in a role where he was useful helping people. So trying to make friends, he hosted a bunch of media on the company's network to share with his co-workers. Things like this happen. People like to share. It's illegal, sure, but morally the guy was trying to play his service role to the best of his ability. Anyway, the sharing was noticed, and the corporate honchos decided they really did not like them being made look bad. So they made an example of him, reported him to the police and insisted he be charged. This shy, helpful IT guy was facing jail time. Instead of that, he committed suicide. This is the guy who upgraded my machine from XP to Windows 7. Hung himself because why? Frick copyright. Frick patents. Frick DRM. I live in China. Pirating won't get you any trouble here. The company that develops downloaders even host all the torrent files on their servers. You can download any stuff you want with full speed if you paid for VIP. And it's not expensive. Just 10 yuan a month. Less than $2 a month. You can pirate anything you want. The Blu-ray of Lego the movie is out. You can download it right away. Want to try out some new game and play through the single player campaign before you decide to buy it for multiplayer? Download it first, and you can stream the movie inside the torrent to examine it, so you can decide whether to download it or not. Around 10 years ago, I received a letter asking me to pay a substantial amount of money because of some songs I had downloaded through Kazaa. The thing was, there was only one lawyer firm in Denmark who took this crappy job from the Danish anti-piracy group, and their name was on the front of the envelope. The thing with letters like this is that you have to sign as you receive the letter, so they can actually prove that the claim wasn't lost in the mail. I'm sure this is normal a lot of places around the world. Now, I'm fairly certain that our postman recognized the envelope. He was a young dude, because the outside part of the letter that was supposed to be signed was ripped off the envelope, and the rest was just casually stuffed down our mailbox. So, I read it and got quite nervous, but then I realized what he had done, and just threw it out, and lo and behold, I never heard from them again. TLDR. Postofficer saved me from a copyright claim. 3. Freshman year of college. This academic year actually, we were all told that the school would take action if they found out we were torrenting. Of course I was like, well, they can't be monitoring everyone all the time, so I went ahead and downloaded music and movies and whatever. Well, one day I was on RNSFW GIFs and the comments linked me to a source that was a torrent for a popular P movie. I never download P, but I was like, hey, why not? Well, 3 days later I got an email saying that UMBC had received a request for legal action from whatever company had the right to said P movie, and I was fined $175 and had to go around and get signatures, unique with school aid, from 15 other students saying that I had informed them about the DMCA and what it means. The most awkward part was when I had a meeting with the school's Department of Justice, and this man in his late 20s had to read off why I was being charged, including reading the title Curvy Girls 4. I received a letter in the mail one day from some lawyer in another city claiming I downloaded the movie Split. A really stupid B grade C fee. I'd never heard of it before I received the letter. Lots of threatening statements in the letter that were well into the realm of extortion. They claimed that my ISP had provided them information showing that my IP address was active on a certain date at a certain time, and I was using some Windows application or some such to download this movie. I contacted a local lawyer and showed him the letter. He did a little greatest digging before taking the case. Turns out this law firm in another city blitzed the city I lived in with about 10,000 letters claiming all sorts of copyright infringements for some little known movie production companies, like the one who made Split. I did my own digging on my side. First, I don't use Windows, ever. My home PCs run 100% Linux, so no way I could have been running the Windows app they claimed. Second, I never used torrents to download movies. Any that I did download came out of Usenet, and even then it was not a regular thing. Third, I'd never even heard of the movie before the letter, and definitely did not download it. Fourth, my Wi-Fi was locked down to MAC address authentication, so really unlikely that anyone randomly piggybacked onto my Wi-Fi. So I took all this back to my lawyer and he looked at it all, looked at me and said give me €100 to cover the costs of letters and such and I'll make it go away. Sold. So I paid up, and Mr. Lawyer started doing his thing. My lawyer copied me on all the correspondence. Initially he just sent out a letter stating I didn't do what they claimed and politely requested they go away. The response from Mr. Sleazy Lawyer was to raise the penalties claimed, double, and increase the threat rhetoric. My lawyer bounced it right back at them with a statement that if they continued harassing me, and by now about 200 other clients he'd picked up, then he would countersue them for the double amount they were claiming plus all the court and legal fees plus some arbitrary value for a class action. He stated that if they did not reply by a certain date that they would then consider the matter closed, and he would take no further action with the class action suit. Deafening silence from Mr. Sleazy, so I assume that they simply said not worth the trouble. I talked to my lawyer once more after this, and he said that Mr. Sleazy Lawyer played the shotgun approach and that a significant percentage of the victims would simply pay up to make the problem go away. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.